Hey everybody, we're free camera right now. There are going to be a few choppy edits in this video because I kept referring to the bearing cage as a washer. So just brace yourself for that. I promise this is good though. Hey everybody, Corey here coming at you with another knife video, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to fish instead of giving you a fish. And the first thing that you're going to need is a set of calipers just like this. And it would be really great if you could get a set of calipers that goes out to the 4th decimal place. That's going to be the most useful for you in your entire life and in your knife career. I know. This looks a little intimidating, but I promise. You can get these on Amazon for dirt cheap, and it's easy, okay? If you're an adult, I promise this is easy. But without further ado, let's get into this. So, Skiff bearings, arguably an improvement over almost any factory bearings that will come with your knife. Well, if you want to replace your bearings, how do you know what size skiffs you get? Because these come in all shapes and sizes. So do you want to just take a gamble on your skiffs, or do you want to actually know? One of the biggest questions I see on the internet about skiffs is people going, oh, I don't know. Will these fit my knife? I don't know if these will fit my knife. I'm going to teach you how to not be that guy on the internet who doesn't know how to use a set of calipers to see if skiffs will fit their knife. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into this. Let's get this outside of the screen real quick. Let's get one of our bearings. We've already got a little bit of grease on the table. Let's get one of our bearings and let's talk about these measurements. We've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 measurements that really matter, okay? And 2 of them are basically the same. First up, you've got the pivot and you've got the internal diameter or inner diameter. What do these measure? The pivot is the size of the pivot in your knife. Why is it the same as the internal diameter of the bearings? Well, let's talk about that. First thing you're going to do, disassemble your knife, take out your bearings. You've now got a bearing just like this. For those of you who don't know how to use calipers, I'll be your dad for a second here. You want to measure the outside of something end to end? You use this side. You pinch something between it and you go, oh, there it is. You want to measure the inside of something? You stick it between these teeth, and then you expand them. Nope, getting caught. It's hard to do this under a camera. Expand them. That's how you measure the inside of something. Okay, great. So the first thing we're going to do is measure the inner diameter of this bearing, which is the middle circle right there. Okay, so I'm going to do this real quick. It's so hard under a camera. Okay, 0.2375. Okay, 0.2375. Oh, there it is, 0.238. Look at that, ID 0.238, 0.238. That right there, where those teeth are grabbing onto, is the inner diameter. That is the size of your pivot, okay? So to measure that one, all you have to really do is measure the bearings that came with your knife and match this. If you, for some reason, don't have the bearings anymore and you need to measure the pivot of your knife, you would use the other side. You would get on your pivot, you would wrap these around your pivot, and you would go, oh, that's the measurement. Of course, it's bigger because that's the outer diameter now, but you get the point, okay? Main thing here, if you've still got the bearings, just measure the inside like that, okay? That's the ID, all right? So pivot and ID are essentially the same. This one is just measured in millimeters, okay? Great. Next up, OD, 0.492. Now this one can be a little bit tricky. Let's see if we can do this on camera. This one can be a little bit tricky because you have to get the dead center of the bearings or the cage. But generally, oh, look at that. 0.492, 0.492. One more time, outer diameter, right? From there to there, let's focus. From edge to edge, 0.492. Outer diameter, 0.492. Now you know how big your bearings are from edge to edge. Pro tip, all right? Let's think about this for a second. The OD has to match or be less than the OD of the bearings that are currently in your knife. Why can it be less? Well, if it's smaller, it'll still fit. If it's bigger, it won't fit in the groove that was machined into the knife, okay? So remember that. The OD that you measure can be the same or it can be smaller. Optimally, you don't want to get one that's smaller. You want it to be the same, but that's what you're looking for here, okay? All right. Same thing with the pivot, okay? the pivot needs to be extremely tight. But if your pivot comes out at 6 millimeters and you measure the bearings at 6.04 millimeters, which these came out to, by the way, that's okay, because these need to slide over that 6 millimeter pivot. So if they're a hair bigger, that's actually what you want, but not too much bigger, okay? The next thing we're gonna look at, balls, 1/16. Now let's talk about the difference between thickness and the ball measurement, okay? The thickness is referring to the thickness of the cage. See that? 0.05 inches. That is the thickness of the cage. Thick, 0.05. Balls 1/16, however, let's see if we can do this on camera. Got it. 0.0625. You see how this is dangling? You see how it's wiggling? Oh, well, not anymore because it got stuck. See how it's wiggling like that? It's because I'm not hanging on to the cage. I'm hanging on to the balls. What is 0.0625 for my non-math friends? Well, it's 1/16, okay? The thickness of the balls is what matters, not the thickness of the cage. The balls are the widest portion of this piece of equipment. So those are gonna be what's touching each side of the knife, right? The washer and the tang. So you need to make sure you get the right size balls, because newsflash, on Skiff's website, sometimes you'll get a 6 millimeter pivot and an OD of 0.492, but the balls are bigger or the balls are smaller. Guess what? It won't fit. Sometimes you get a 5 millimeter pivot and blah, 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 blah. That's why we're doing this, right? So I just taught you how to measure all these things, right? So one more time, right? Inner diameter. From there to there. Inner diameter. Let's do this. The inside. That's the size of your pivot that this needs to slide over. Outer diameter. These things are pokey. Outer diameter from edge to edge, okay? Thickness of the cage, just for educational purposes, even though this isn't what really matters when you're trying to fit the skiffs. Right there, thickness of the cage. And then the measurement that Skiff simply refers to as balls. You grab a ceramic ball itself and measure the thickness of that ball. That is all you need to know. If you take those measurements, you go on Skiff's website, and under every single Skiff bearing, they have these measurements. All you need is this, and you will never need to run to the forums and beg people to tell you what bearings will fit in your knife. You can completely do it yourself, okay? Here's an added bonus. I recently switched out washers on a knife of mine. There was an issue with the washers. We won't get into what it was. But all I had to do, switch this to millimeters. 1 millimeter thick. Oh, would you look at that? Now, because washers don't have balls, the thickness actually matters, right? So I need a washer that's 1 millimeter thick. And I need a washer that has an inner diameter of 6 millimeters. And I need a washer that has an outer diameter of about 12 millimeters. Okay? Guess what? Now, you can do what I did. You can go on Amazon and buy yourself a pack of washers to replace the washers in your knife. And you will never have to worry about your knife being dead because you can't get Benchmade to send you a washer or something like that for the rest of your life. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the questions down below. I just want to help you guys. If any of this was unclear, let me know. I'll try to respond to the comment and I'll try to address it as quickly as possible. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you enjoy your skiffs if you pick them up. And I will see you guys next time.
Impressive. Very nice.